Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today we're going to talk about a really strange incident that allegedly occurred in 1949 in Sweden involving a 19-year-old man named Sven Perssons. So we're going to get into that. This was actually, originally this article was published in a Swedish newsletter called UFO Aktuellt, which means UFO news, in this Swedish publication back in April of 1985. And recently it was uploaded to Humanoid Encounters subreddit on Reddit by a Emilio S260. And I think this is a really interesting story because there's a lot of elements to it. If this was something that happened in 1949, it seems that some of the things that happen here, you hear similar stuff that happens later on when it comes to people being encountering extraterrestrials. A lot of the same things are at play here, but this was an earlier incident. You don't really hear a lot from the late 1940s. Of course, only 2 years removed from when the UFO, actually, basically, I guess if you want to say 3 years removed. It was actually 1946 when people started seeing the ghost rockets in Sweden, the Swedish ghost rockets. That was a big story. And then 1947, that's when the UFO flap in earnest began, the 1947 flap. And it's pretty much never stopped ever since. But I thought this story was interesting because it had a lot of elements that we hear described in later encounters with extraterrestrials. Anyway, I want to get right into it here. Anyway, it says here, the headline of this says, "The encounter of 19-year-old Sven Perssons, who was taken on board a craft by two humanoids who was shown a strange animal-like creature on board. The witness, 19-year-old Sven Perssons, had left work early in the morning and was cycling home from Lavholmens to Patia. As he approached the Ojabin church, he saw what he described as two ships come down from the sky to his left and hover about 20 meters away, very close to the ground. The objects resembled two deep bowls with numerous lights on the bottom." Sounds like your classic flying saucer description. Anyway, continuing, it says, "Soon a gap or opening became visible on one of the objects, and two men wearing divers' suits, helmets, and carrying what appeared to be hoses came out. Very curious, Sven stopped and thought that the men were going to perform some underwater work. He had never heard of flying saucers and had no idea what he was watching. However, the men suddenly approached Sven, and he was suddenly unable to move. At this point, he perceived a telepathic message from one of the creatures, telling him not to be afraid, and also asked how old he was. Apparently, the creatures did not understand him when he said he was 19 years of age. Sven attempted to explain by counting it on his fingers, but the creatures somehow arrived at the figure of 100. Before the creatures started to question Sven, they told him that they had been traveling for a long time and added that they had not begun the journey, that it had been started by generations before them." So I just want to stop there for a second. I find that really interesting, the possibility that it was this journey was started by beings who are long dead, and they're just multiple generations. They weren't born until multiple generations later, and that might explain a lot of people complain. A lot of scientists out there will tell you it would take too long for an intelligent race of beings to traverse the great distances of space to come to our planet. But maybe it does take a long time, just like they say. But it takes multiple generations to continue operating the ship. I mean, it takes the beings live and die and live and die, live and die, and then by the time they reach their destination, I mean, it could be 10 generations removed. I mean, who knows? We just don't know. It's all speculation. All we do know is that there is something here. Anyway, continuing with the story, it says, "They then asked Sven if he wanted to go with them. He said yes, but only if he could come back home. They told him that it was impossible for him to come since he would have been long forgotten, but in their world he would live much longer than humans on Earth and would become famous. Sven then placed his bicycle on the side of the road and was taken on board of one of the crafts. Inside he found himself in a small antechamber, and then a door opened on the wall, and he could see another room where he saw two other men wearing tight-fitting diving suits. Now he was able to see the faces of the aliens, which were similar to humans, but expressionless and almost mask-like in nature. He had a strange feeling that they did not want to reveal their true features so as to not frighten him." Again, I want to stop there again. I think that's interesting. I mean, we've heard this before from other people over the decades who said they were abducted by aliens, that it seems that they're wearing some sort of facade, of some sort of a mask or something that's hiding what they really look like. Maybe they're reptilian-like creatures, and that would be too scary for a human being to see. They would freak out, so they hide themselves using some sort of mask or holographic mask. Who knows how they do it, but that's probably what, if this story is true, that might be what happened here. Anyway, continuing, it says, while in this room, Sven was not able to move and felt somehow controlled by the aliens. He was able to see a sort of control panel 70 by 70 centimeters in diameter, which he saw a picture of the universe. He also saw numerous other devices which apparently controlled the ship. According to Sven, he was told by the aliens their point of origin, but claims he is unable to remember it today. Moments after being shown the control panel, another entity entered the room and walked towards Sven. The other two aliens apparently tried to prevent the creature from entering the room, apparently in an effort to prevent Sven from becoming frightened. She, Sven understood the creature was a female, resembled nothing that he had ever seen before. The strange creature had a large pig-like snout, and on the back of its neck it had a sort of mane that stood straight up, and it became shorter further down its back. The skin was pink in color, and it had large, slanted blue eyes. He was then told that he should have feelings for her, but Sven was unable to, since she was not a pleasant sight to look at. Unlike the other two aliens, the female entity wanted Sven to accompany them back to their planet and stay with her. This apparently caused a conflict between the two other aliens and the bizarre female entity. Just then, orders came from the other ship that they were ready to go, but the three aliens continued to argue. However, soon there were sharper orders issued, and before he knew it, Sven was standing by his bicycle on the ground. Sven watched as both craft flew over the church and disappeared in a northwest direction at high speed. Confused about the experience, he then cycled home. He felt uneasy at home after arriving. He was sure that somehow there was some memory that had been suppressed by the aliens. He was convinced that at some point his clothes had been removed and he had been examined. He felt dirty inside. That's a pretty weird story, but it does jive with a lot of the things that we would hear occur later on to people. But also of interest here was the picture that there was a drawing that went along with this article, and this is what it looked like. You could see this weird, these are the two humanoids here, and then there's this weird looking creature right there. This was this female entity with the pig-like snout and the mane that started from the top of her head and went down her back. And apparently this creature liked Sven and wanted him to come along to her planet with them. But it didn't happen. But Sven did believe in the end that something did happen to him, but he didn't have any memory of it. He thinks that they might have erased his memory. And just like a lot of other encounters with alien stories, memories were mixed up, and who knows what happened to him while he was in that craft. We'll never know, but it's an interesting story. You know, I actually went. I went to Shutterstock, and I tried to come up with. I typed in the description as described in this article of what this creature looked like, and I wanted to see if I could come up with something better than what was in this artist rendition using AI. And these are some of the images I came up with right here. There's this thing. I don't know. Is that maybe it looks something like that according to AI, or this? That's pretty awful, you know. I don't know. And then finally this. I don't know. That's what AI came up with when I tried to type. I put in the description of of what Sven said he saw, and this is what the AI gave me. Now there was a lot of other things too it gave me, but these were probably the most notable ones, I thought. So yeah. Not too pleasant to look at. But I think it's an interesting story nonetheless, and I wanted to share it because, you know, it just goes to show that early on, if this story is true, we don't know. I mean, it's just one person saying it, telling the story, but it does, you know, there was a lot of elements there, things that you didn't really hear until more recent years. I mean, you know, until later on. You know, the telepathic control, I mean, all of these things. It's, you know, the story, you know, reminded me of what I was talking about yesterday when I had my guest on, Michael Mencken, who was talking about how aliens could control people telepathically. And, of course, Michael Mencken, you know, claims that the thought screen helmet that he has constructed, that he has made, helps prevent alien abductions because they're unable to control you telepathically if you're wearing one. And I do want to follow up on that as well on yesterday's story, because I did receive a lot of different comments on that. Most of them were positive, but some people were upset that I talked about that or featured that on one of my episodes. But here's the thing, folks. For one thing, Michael Mencken, this guy's not looking for any money. Everything that he does is for free, for one thing. He actually provides these thought screen helmets for free if somebody requests it. All he asks in return is that people, stay in contact with them to let them know if they worked or not. That's about it. And then he also provides instructions on his websites on how to make them. So it's not like some money-making scheme or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that. Apparently, he's just interested in this subject, and he wanted to try to help people who are getting abducted by aliens. But I did receive a lot of different comments, and I'm going to shoot over to YouTube right now. Actually, we'll start on Spotify here. Actually, Satchmo says, for instance, Satchmo was not happy with this, with that episode. He says, "Jim, please, the helmet, really? Far-reaching, to say the least." Yeah, I know it. It seems absurd. I know when you see what that thought screen helmet looks like, and the whole idea of it. It sounds crazy. It does, but at the same time, the reality is that there is something here, and this guy, all he's trying to do is trying to help people. Whether it helps them or not, we don't know. But I will. There were a lot of testimonials on his website where people claimed that the thought screen helmet did prevent alien abductions, and we'll get into that in a little bit here too. And then over on YouTube, I received some comments. This was from X77. He just posted it just not long ago, just right before I started doing the show here today. And he says, "The fact this isn't satire is extremely troubling." Yeah, it is. It actually is. And here's the thing. There's something here. People claim, thousands of people said they get abducted by these things. I know that they go into your bedroom because I saw one in my bedroom when I was a kid. Whether I was abducted or not, I can't say, because I don't know. I can't say that for a fact. All I know is that there was some kind of a weird creature in my room when I was a kid, and I know that for a fact. And I also know that there's something here because I saw one of these craft up close and personal, right, with a witness. And so I know for a fact there's something here. And besides that, as I've demonstrated for the past almost year now, there's something here. We have the absolute proof that shows it. And then on top of that, when you consider the people that have say they're abducted all their whole lives, a lot of them, right? Whitley Strieber. There's a lot of different people out there. All these different people say they've been abducted by aliens, and this guy, Michael Mencken, developed this thought screen helmet using this material called Velostat, and apparently it works for some people. We can't say is it how could you test something like that? I don't know, but why is it it's not as crazy as it sounds crazy. It looks crazy to me when you look at it. When you see someone wearing one of those thought screen helmets, yeah, this is like tinfoil hat kind of stuff. But it's not. For one thing, it's not tinfoil hat. It's Velostat, and apparently it does help people for some reason. We don't know exactly why, but apparently it is working for some abductees. We can't say for sure, but it is. But then there was another comment here that I want to talk about, and this was from user MH5QG5JB7D. And this person wrote, "Tinfoil-lined, mind-blocking, quote, anti-abduction hats," end quote, and hearing this guy claim aliens come to Earth to literally beat people up really devalues a legitimate topic. Well, here's the thing. We don't know. I mean, this guy has been doing this for over 25 years now. He came up with this hat. People look to his website for help, apparently, because he says he's getting 400 hits a day still on average, right? He has the instructions on how to make them using this Velostat. You have to wonder how many people out there are affected by this. And you have to think of, put yourself in the shoes of an alien abductee who does not know where to turn. I mean, they'd be afraid to even talk about something like this with their psychiatrist. I mean, you would be afraid to talk about something like this with anybody if this is something that's happening to you on a regular basis. You're going to seek help every which way you can. And if I'm sure a lot of those people, they went online at some point, right, and they found that website, and who knows how many people have created their own hats using this the instructions provided by Michael Mencken. We just don't know. And not only that, but the thing is, to say that they literally beat people up, yeah, that does happen. If you read the books by David M. Jacobs, I mean, there's these hybrid, there's a lot of different cases involving these hybrids. They look just like human beings, but they're half alien, half human, right? And they'll go to the abductees and they'll abuse them. There's so many stories like that, and David M. Jacobs talks about in his books, like The Threat and Walking Among Us. So it's not as crazy as it might look, because it does look crazy. I tell you, to me it looks crazy, but at the same time, there's something here, and I don't know, maybe those helmets work for some people, maybe they don't, but some people are claiming that they do work. And I'm just going to shoot over here to Michael Mencken's website, stopabductions.com. I left a link in yesterday's podcast, and I'll leave the link again for this one. And here's just some of the testimonials. It says here, here's from somebody who writes, "The thought screen helmet is working perfectly. I have not had contact with aliens since I first started using it. Though twice now coming back from work, I have noticed lights following to the rear of my car. So now I take the helmet with me in the car in case I am abducted." And then another one says, "I am using the material Velostat in my hat. I wear it to bed. I sleep better than I have in a long time, but it's hard to tell if it works or not. I think it works." And then somebody else writes, "I want to thank you and thank Jesus. The helmet works. I don't feel alone anymore." Somebody else writes, "I am able to fight it off. The helmet is working for me." Somebody else writes, "My son wore the helmet from 2000 to 2012. A neurologist and pediatrician both say that he has made dramatic improvement in his behavior, ability to process information, and he gives me eye contact. My son has been open with me about his dreams and abduction experiences. He stopped wearing the helmet in 2012 and recently graduated from a state university." So look at these. There's a lot of testimonials that he's received from different people on here. Here's somebody else says, "I wore the helmet nightly for about 3 to 4 months after receiving it. I stopped dreaming of alien encounters and am not aware of any strange events since that time, in spite of witnessing odd lights in the fall of 2000. I have awakened twice in the past year with a strange headache and sore spot at the base of my right side of my skull. I was not wearing a helmet either time, and I don't have any associated memories. I've noted in the past that Grays and possibly others have had interest in 2 of my 4 children. They have not reported remembering any experiences, and I am not aware of any recent activity." And then somebody else writes, "Just thought I would let you know there has been no more problems since we started wearing the helmets. We are finally getting some good peaceful sleep after about 3 years." And let's go to a couple more here. It says, here's another one. "The hat and the helmet work very well, and I have experienced much relief wearing them. I am, however, surprised that the aliens have not found a way to thwart this simple but effective technology. At any rate, I am very happy with mine, and thank you again for your work." And then finally, here's one that says, "I am still wearing the helmet. To my knowledge, I have not had any encounters with the Greys since wearing it. Before wearing the helmet, I frequently would have nightmares with them in it, hear weird noises at night, hear a weird vibration above the house, or wake up in weird positions the following morning after waking. I am no longer having those problems. I also have not had any nightmares with them in it either, and have actually been sleeping much more soundly. Nothing unusual or out of the ordinary has happened at all for a while." So I don't think talking about these things, I hear where you're coming from. I don't know what your name, user MH5Q. Hear where you're coming from, but I don't think that this devalues a legitimate topic. This is something that's been going on for a long time now. This guy's website has been around since 1999, and if somebody requests, he'll make one for them for free. He's not asking for any money or anything. So I don't think there's anything wrong with this at all. I mean, if it seems to be working for some people, then it's working for some people. I mean, I know that people in the debunkers will say, "Oh, these people were just having mental health problems, and now that they were given this solution, it's like taking a placebo. They're just thinking that it's gone away." I mean, that's what some people are going to say. Other people will say, "No, this is working for these people." We don't know, but what is the harm in discussing this? I don't think there's any harm in it, even though I know for some people it does seem outrageous, even to myself. When I go to the website, Michael's website, and you see him sitting there wearing that weird hat, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's very strange. I mean, here's a picture on his website, and he was wearing this hat yesterday. One of these hats when he was on the show in the beginning of it, and yeah, does it help these people who, if you accept the reality that there are aliens here, if you accept the reality that people are being abducted by these beings, then what's wrong with giving this a little bit of consideration? Whether it works, whether it's really working or not, it seems like it is for some people. Well, what's the harm? There's no harm in it. It's not like some sort of a money-making scheme or anything like that. So I have no issue with it, and I'm glad to see that it works for people. He says he's been helping abductees for 26 years here on his website. So I just wanted to point that out. I understand how it does seem, it does sound crazy. You have to think about that movie Signs. It was it Signs with Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix. I can't pronounce his name. The guy who played the Joker. He was in that movie, and he put on the tinfoil hat, and that, people have been, ever since now, people have been getting made fun of. People who believe in this subject have been getting made fun of because of that. Ever since that movie came out, people have been talking about tinfoil hats. Well, for one thing, this isn't tinfoil, right? And Michael Mencken said tinfoil does not work. But I don't see any problem with talking about this. If it's something that helps people, then I think what's the issue? I think it's worth talking about. It's just another subject, another aspect to this whole phenomenon, how we're reacting to it, how some people are trying to prevent abductions from occurring, and there's nothing wrong with talking about that, I don't think. But I do understand at the same time how it seems crazy. I get it. I see what you're saying. I see where you're coming from there, but at the same time, after you think it through, I think you'll see that there should be no issues with this. This is something that this is a solution that people are looking for. They're looking for a solution, and for some people, apparently, this is it. So that's why I thought it was important to bring Michael on here to talk about this. Okay, moving on. I want to talk about something else here. There was a couple articles here. This was from unexplainedmysteries.com. It's talking about an object that was spotted from Google Earth. It looks like a crashed flying saucer from the sky. It says mystery surrounds disc-shaped object spotted on Google Earth. It says here a peculiar white circular object or structure has left eagle-eyed Google Earth sleuths scratching their heads. The mysterious object, which was spotted in New Mexico, is situated around 34 miles from the Zavaleta National Refuge in the state's remote and mountainous Sierra Ladrones region. Resembling a white disc partially obscured by ground vegetation, it sits at an altitude of 7,400 feet. And then it gives you the coordinates where you could find it on the map. And here, I'm going to just pull it up here. I actually already typed this in. You could here it is on Google Earth. You could see it from a distance. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you could see it better. Now they're saying that this looks like could be a crashed disc, a crashed flying saucer. I don't know. I'm not so sure, but I think it does. It does look like it, but it could be. Who knows? Nobody really knows. I would imagine if it was a crashed saucer, our government would have been there already and got it out of there by this point. I'm not sure when this image was taken. So we don't know that Google Earth is not live. So, but apparently this was here. This wasn't here at some point in the past, but now it is there. Anyway, getting back to the article, it says, when images of the discovery were shared online, social media users quickly began speculating as to precisely what this peculiar feature could actually be. Some suggested that it could be a crashed UFO, while others thought it might be a hatch to some secretive underground complex. Others, meanwhile, tried to turn back the clock by looking at imagery from the past to see how long it had been there. In 1975, for instance, there appeared to be a black box-like structure at the site, while the white disc-shaped structure we see now was present in 2003, so it definitely didn't crash there recently. One of the most plausible explanations is that it is some form of tank for catching rainwater. There's also a chance that it could be some sort of science station for recording data. As things stand, however, its exact purpose continues to remain unclear. So it's been sitting there since at least 2003. What is it? I don't know. Does it look like could be a crash flying saucer? Yeah, it does look like that, but I don't think it is. That's my opinion. I don't think it is. I think it's something else. But I'd like to know what it is. I'm curious. I would like to know the answer. So hopefully, in sometime in the near future, somebody will provide that answer. But I just thought I'd point that out because I do think it's pretty cool. I really like Google Earth, and I think to see stuff like this, find things like this, it's pretty neat, and pretty neat to speculate about what it might be as well. Okay, now I just want to get caught up with some of the Spotify polls. I haven't done them in a bit, so I need to get caught up on this. So I think we're going to go all the way back for the episode, Proof of Aliens Causes Cognitive Dissonance / Drones in Wyoming. I asked this question: are you mentally tough enough to deal with the truth about the alien presence on Earth? There's 39 votes so far with 9 days left. Okay, 5 people or 12.8% say no, while 34 people or 87.2% say yes. Yeah, I think a lot of us who are following this closely, I'm sure most of the people obviously listening to this podcast believe that they're mentally tough to deal with the truth about the alien presence on Earth. But I will say this: I think there are some people here that probably are not, and for as much as a lot of us scream and cry about wanting disclosure, I think that there are some people that aren't ready for this. I just don't think I think there are some people that, as more time goes by, I'm starting to think that. I think maybe it's a good idea, that the bunkers are out there lying to people on a regular basis. It might be best for everyone concerned. And maybe, the adults in the room, we should be the ones worried about this. And don't worry, let the other people just go on believing what they want to believe. That's perfectly fine. Okay, for the episode, Scott Roeder discusses Ancient Aliens interview, Vegas aliens, and 2022 South Carolina tree mystery. I asked this question: how did you find out about this podcast? 45 votes so far. Okay, let's see. 0 people say TV news segment. 0 people say online article. 1 person, or 2.2%, says friend recommendation. Another 1 person, or 2.2%, says another podcaster told me. 7 people, or 15.6%, say search engine. 11 people, or 24.4%, say other, while a majority, 25 people, or 55.6%, say Spotify recommendation. I just want to say thank you for responding to that. I was just curious on where people were finding out about my podcast. That will help me in the future. Thank you very much. Okay, for the episode, Canadian UFO encounter revealed / drone explanation false / museum refuses saucer encounter artifact, I asked this question: do you believe every United States president has lied to the public about UFOs since 1947? Okay, 47 votes so far. 10 people, or 21.3%, say no, they do not believe that, while 37 people, or 78.7%, say yes, they believe that every United States president has lied to the public about UFOs since 1947. Of course, I agree with the majority on this one. I think that the United States presidents, all of them, know more than they're saying since 1947. There's no question in my mind about that. You're the head honcho of the free world here. You're going to know about UFOs, at least something, and you're going to know whatever that something is. It's going to be more than the public knows. So that means, yes, every United States president has been lying about UFOs since 1947, at least 1947. Okay, for the episode, Vegas, this was from the episode, Vegas man reveals 2021 encounter with hovering green orb that flew away at 35,000 plus miles per hour. I asked this question: is it a waste of time to regularly expose the idiocy of UFO debunkers? 43 votes so far. 18 people, or 41.9%, say yes, it's a waste of time, while a majority of people, 25 or 58.1%, say no, it's not a waste of time. So some people think you need to keep exposing the idiocy of UFO debunkers, which, of course, I'm sure I will as time goes on. But I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really get us anywhere. And two, I mean, maybe they're necessary because there's people out there who just aren't ready for this truth, and maybe they need to be lied to on a regular basis. And that's where the UFO debunkers come in handy, because they're great at lying. So, you have to look at it that way too. Okay, for the episode, buzzing sounds reported by abductees could be alien method to upload instructions into their minds. I asked this question. If you were to guess, what are the buzzing sounds people hear when confronted with NHI and or their craft? 27 votes so far with 19 days left. Okay, 7 people, or 25.9%, say craft sound. Another 7 people, or 25.9%, say subliminal instructions. And 13 people, or the majority of people, 48.1%, say other. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know if it's subliminal instructions. That's what was, that was something that was suggested in that book by Dr. Carla Turner. I don't know. I just don't know. Could be craft sounds. Who knows? Could be them. There could be language. Could be them speaking. I might have to go with the majority here and say other, because it could be multiple different reasons for it. We just don't know. But I like to know. That's why I'm asking these questions. I'm hoping we get answers to these questions someday. Somebody actually, when I did that episode, somebody actually said that was the first time they ever heard anyone talking about it in the show. Yeah, it's something that nobody ever talks about. I mean, you would think that people would be talking about this, about the sounds, these buzzing sounds that so many people seem to hear, including myself, when confronted with these creatures. I'd like to get an answer to what that's all about. Okay, for the episode, investigator Malcolm Robinson discusses one of Scotland's most incredible UFO encounters. I asked this question. What was responsible for the 1979 Deckmont Woods UFO incident? 22 votes so far with 20 days left. Okay, 0 people say black ball lightning. 0 people say poison berry illusion. 0 people say the planet Venus. All of those, by the way, were suggested by so-called experts. But nobody here believes that's possible. 1 person believes it was a medical condition mirage. Another 1 person, or 4.5%, say Ministry of Defense. 2 people say, or 9.1%, say other, while the vast majority of people, 18 people, or 81.8%, say extraterrestrials / NHI. That's what I think it was. In fact, I don't see what else it could have been. It had to be extraterrestrials / NHI. It was that's what it was in my mind. I think that's what. I don't see what else it possibly could have been. I mean, when you look at the totality of the evidence in that case, right? There's only one conclusion, right? There is only one conclusion. Okay, for the episode, new method to deal with non-believers revealed / subscribers weigh in on alien buzzing sounds episode. I asked this question. Have you ever experienced missing time? 26 votes so far. 9 people, or 34.6%, say yes. Wow, so quite a few people who pay attention to the podcast have experienced missing time. 17 people, or 65.4%, say no. Oh boy! Wow, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good number. I would have expected more people to say no, but it's something that 9 people who responded say yes. There was one incident in my life where I was driving the car one time in broad daylight, where I thought it was around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the next thing I knew, it was like 3:30 in the afternoon. I was like wondering what the hell happened to that 2.5 hours worth of time. I don't know if it was missing time or if I was daydreaming or who knows what, but I don't think anything happened, but who knows. But some people have missing time. Sometimes it involves multiple people. Sometimes they have missing time, and then they start having weird dreams after the missing time episode, and then the next thing you know, they're seeing a psychiatrist, and they find out that they were abducted by aliens during that missing time event. So, yeah. It's scary. It is scary. I just want to say this. This whole phenomenon is very creepy. In a lot of respects. In a lot of respects, I know a lot of people look to these beings. They respect them. They think they're here to help us, and maybe some of them here are. I don't know about that. Some people believe that's what the case is. I think it's probably more indifference, but who really knows? It could be a combination of everything. We just don't know. Okay, and then for the most recent episode, How to Prevent Alien Abductions with Michael Mencken, I asked this question. Have you tried, or would you be willing to try, Michael Mencken's solution to prevent alien abductions? There's only 16 votes so far. Only 4 people, or 25%, say yes, while 12 people, or 75%, say no. They have not tried, or they would not be willing to try. Yeah, it'd be a tough one to do. I mean, you'd be concerned about what other people would think of you, when you're walking around with something like that, wearing a Velostat thought screen helmet. I mean, how would you explain that to other people? I mean, maybe wearing that one, maybe if you're getting abducted in the nighttime, and that'd be something you would try. But I don't know. I would not be, put it this way, I would be afraid. I mean, I could understand why people would be afraid to do that in public, to announce, oh yeah, I'm wearing a thought screen helmet to prevent alien abduction. It sounds insane. It sounds crazy to the general public, unfortunately. But that's just the way things are. Most people don't want to accept the reality that there are aliens here, and that alien abductions do occur, and that this might be the only thing that might help prevent it, as far as we know at this point. And we don't really know. The only people who really know whether that's a solution or not are alien abductees themselves. People who know for a fact that they've been getting abducted, and if they started using this Michael Mencken's thought screen helmet and it worked for them, they're the only ones that are going to know. They would never be able to prove it, really. How could you prove? It's so hard to prove the presence on this planet. I mean, we have so much different kinds of evidence. We do have proof now. It's still, you see how it gets treated. People just don't want to believe it. They'll look at something, you present all the proof you want. Some people I think a majority of people actually don't want to even think about this. There's just too many other issues on their plate, and they do not want to concern themselves with this alien presence on this planet. It's just too much for them. Anyway, I want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.